Hey, welcome back to Happy Little Node Trees. I'm your host, Greg, as always, here in my little cubby hole of an office, working on a new tool that I've built to go as a companion to Photo Chemist. But what I found is it is a fascinating tool just to use on its own. This tool is the Film Negative Space CST, that it was designed to run in with Photo Chemist, which there's links and videos and all that on the channel. But we're going to talk about it just being on its own for a couple minutes and what it does to your grading space and how it works just a little bit. So let's just drop these two nodes out for right now. Oops, I'll just delete them, not all of them. We're going to take these out. We'll talk about that in a second. So like I said, this was designed by me to work in Film Negative Photo Chemist space. Here, what we have going on is we can just bring this up and just bring this straight out. So we just got our image going into our space manager, which is Film Negative Space. So we're going from Black Magic to Davinci White Gamut, and then we're using this to make adjustments to our tone curve, our line. So if you were to look at what's going on here, this is just a gray ramp. We can increase the number of stops if we want, whatever we want. What we see right there is mid-gray, and that pegs out right there in its own way. But what Space Manager does is, if we take the same thing and we just drop it in, we're going to reset all this out to negative. We have our input set to Davinci White Intermediate, but you have all these options available if you want to use Aries, Aces, any log curve you can think of. It is functional for your workflow. And this is now set to forward digital. And what it's doing is input mid-gray. This is set to 0.18 because I primarily use Davinci White Intermediate, and so that's the usual mid-gray location. But if you've made adjustments in other places, you got to kind of say, when coming into Space Manager, its input is right there. And then you can crank it up and move, and you can see how it's moving on our custom curves down here. If we just go like this, you can see if we're just shifting mid-gray, you can see it's just sliding that all around where those points are and raising your mid-gray up. It's also bringing up your shadows. It's bringing up everything. It's not clipping nothing. It's not changing your gamut. It is staying in Davinci White Intermediate primaries, but your log curve is Davinci White is now been shifted. You can also then expand it. So if we play around with this, I will say, be a little careful with this. Be a little with how you tweak this. What you're doing is, in effect, making a new space. So you've stretched out the contrast, so the gaps, you've kind of expanded the contrast above and below mid, and you can go a little too heavy with this and get it to break. I'm perfectly fine with that. And then mid-gray blend will actually kind of just tweak if there's a mismatch in how they overlap. You can kind of smooth out some of it in the middle. But now you have this new shape to what's going on in your space. It's different. It's not this, where we were here, very dark, and that's what we're working with. Now we've shifted everything and expanded everything to work in this place. Now the thing is, we can switch this mode to animal style, which means, oh wait, nothing's changed. Well, your printer light controls, the ones that are here that are geared to operate like printer light, function in that new space. So you can set them to whatever you want, but if you make changes to, say, where this is, oops, yeah, it's going to make changes to various things because there's a contextual nature to how things are working and flowing with that. But one of the other things that is really cool is these printer lights are contextual. So they are based on a luminosity-based calculation of what theoretical film density is. So as you apply them, more color is getting put into the shadows and bending towards black and a little bit denser, and less color is going into the highlights. kind of like film. It's just, I try to think of cool things about it. The other thing is, if we're going in forward mode, this is now where it gets fun, because the printer light controls are fun, and it's quick, it's easy, it's down and dirty to shift your image around. But what we can do is take a copy of this, drop it over here, and then switch our forward mode to invert. And now we are back to having our one-to-one output. That if we put this up, let's just move OpenDRT out of the way right now, highlight these two nodes. There, oops, wrong one. Highlight, select, and highlight these two nodes. When we turn them on and off, there's no change to our image. But anything we do in the middle is in this new space right here. That's cool. So we could bring up OpenDRT now, turn off our graph of what our image got turned into, and look at Spaceman here. And we're just going to add a node. And we're working in the thing with this. One of the primary things you'll probably notice is that your lift, gamma, and gain wheels are going to feel differently in this theoretical space that is a shift from DaVinci Wide. So offset is actually going to feel nice and fun to grade in this theoretical digital negative space, as you can kind of just shift your image around, and it's going to apply the colors way differently because you've shifted all of your shadows up. And so when you're applying an offset, your shadows are getting a lot more color than your highlights, and it just feels different in terms of how it moves the image around and shifts it. And also with using gain, we can move the gain wheel around, and that's going to work slightly different. It's going to feel different than if you were just working everything else. Lift's going to feel different if we spin lift down, or even tinted lift. Like, it's going to shift your images way differently than, and we can see this, like, let's make a big offset adjustment, and just push our offset, this nice tonally blue. What we can do, you can be like, hey, wait a sec, is this really, how big of a difference is this making? If we just highlight and deactivate, you can see, well, this is what it would have been without and with, and it just feels differently. It applies the colors different, and you can just do things in a unique way that you couldn't do before. It just kind of changes it a little bit. It changes the game. It changes your playing. It changes the field. Let's put it that way. If we're looking for a sports metaphor, it changes the field. You can see, turn those on and off. But one of the other things that I found that was really interesting, and this is completely by accident, is, and you don't have to use all, you may be like, I like DaVinci Wide Intermediate for a lot of the grading I do. This was in a side thing that I found out. We move our offset control over here, and we're like, hey, we want to kind of select a wide swath of colors in this image. Like if we go here and you look at what's going on in the background and things like that, well, what you can do in Spaceman is crank, like, say, green out. And now you got a heavily tinted image in your printer light controls. The thing that we can do then is I use mononodes, so we can just go here, just add this, make sure it's the correct one, and we're going to just paste that on there and reset it, and just go here. You can see, because we've tinted it green, our selection of our image is way different. So we can exclude, because of how our hat is colored, it's a little bit different. We got a lot of the hills, a little bit of her jacket. We're selecting things. This is a tool that's designed to just select hues that are in the range of green. But because we've tinted our whole image green, but at different levels, where darker things have more green tint, when we're fiddling around with the range as well as the luminosity, here now you can see we're really only selecting things that are very green and on the darker side of that lume range. And now you'd be like, oh, that's weird, because we're not looking through a finished image here. Remember, we can turn this one off for now, because that was just our offset control that we had going on. If we put this back into our control here, now we've done nothing in any of these nodes, and all we got to do is crank printer light green all the way up, and we have a net 0 going all the way through. But we have this really interesting selection here with the mononode shaper. It's such a fascinating, I love this tool. I love the shaper tools in and of itself, but we can pivot all those hues that we selected any way we want. And this would be even more noticeable if we had a finished product. You can see it's just kind of putting a lot of density in that background. And if we just go like this, put OpenDRT on the end, see where our finished image is sitting before we just start doing crazy things. Add some saturation out there, tinted it a little green. We're just going to rotate that hue up and in, like so. And yeah, just kind of finding that tasteful spot, but we're really leaving her head alone. We're leaving the bright parts of the image alone. The selection is just a really, we can bring it up and look, this is what it's selecting. It's a really unique instance where it's selecting a lot of various colors, and it's using Mononode's really good sat density and hue controls to modify them in a really unique way, that if we turn that off, look at all that color that we put into the background and density into the hills. Yeah. And just like that, we have this really unique color separation with her skin, because we've added so much. You can see it in the vector scope, like how much more color separation there is, how much more color there is in the image, that then if we were to go in and just pull in our another serial node like we had, switch it to offset after that, we're still working in that weird unique space, but our image can be shaped just a little bit more and centered up. And so here's, if we turn these two nodes off, what we would have had going all the way out to OpenDRT, but we've added so much density, so much color separation, and rotated our hues in such a really unique way, with leaving her skin completely intact, because that green didn't bite into it, but it's just enough that where it does catch her skin, it's giving it density. It's not changing the color of her skin, because it's just how the selection is going. It's really a unique setup, and I am just now scratching the surface of, hey, how can I use this? And what ways can I use this when I'm not doing a film look, but I really just want to do this really cool selection, really cool moves in terms of affecting the image, because it's going to feel different. The tools are going to play differently. Everything is going to play a little bit differently in this new space that you made, the Film Negative Space CST. You can get it. It's free on my website. And yeah, there's links in the description. So check it out and have some fun with it, because it's doing some funky things. Some funky things I like. And I've stared at this image a lot, but like to so easily put so much color and density and vibrance into that background, into places, and leave things that otherwise are untouched. Man, such a fun tool. Yeah. Anyways, that's just me talking and fiddling around and looking at this node tree. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, do all those other YouTube things, comment. I will respond to them as quickly as I possibly can.